I definitely recommend songwriting. It's really fun. It's challenging too. Great way to express yourself as a musician. You don't have to write songs if you don't want to, but it's something I do encourage. And sometimes you just have to start the process and take that first jump. I also want to point out that for songwriting, you could have lyrics and you could have a song with lyrics. That's a great challenge too. It's not my forte. I'm not a great lyricist, but I do work with the singer and he's really good with lyrics. So I let him take care of most of that and I do more of the chords. Now, also you can have instrumental songs and I write a lot of those kind of songs too, where sometimes I will think about the chord progression first and then I'll start to lay down melodies or structure my song around it. You can also build your chords off of a melody too. So there's so many different ways to go about your songwriting, including even having your lyrics first. And then you start to try some chords that match with it. Okay, now for all of our chords, you could do open strum chords or you could do the bar chords that we've learned in this book. I'll be mixing it up a little bit. Okay, now what we're gonna do is start off talking about chords within a key. We call that diatonic harmony or theory. And we're going to start off in the key of D and just talk about the main chords. Now, off of every note of our major scale, we can build a chord that has all the notes in our major scale. And this is kind of a formula. I am going to bypass the 7th note of the scale. It is a diminished chord or a half diminished chord if you make it into a 7th chord. And we'll get into that chord in the next book series. But for this one, we're just going to be doing six chords within a key, basically. Okay, so in the key of D, our 1 chord would be a D major. The 2 chord is minor, and it'd be an E minor in this case. You'd have an F sharp minor for your 3 chord. G major is your 4 chord. A major is your 5 chord. And then your 6th chord is a B minor. That's your relative minor chord. And then again, we are bypassing a C sharp diminished chord. Okay, now you can stack your chords in any progression you like. It's going to sound really good because all of these chords are within our scale for the D major scale. So for number 1, just basically get inside of your chords, be able to play some long chords or strum some quarter notes on all of our chords within the key. For number 2, I made a chord progression. It's a 4-bar chord progression. I'm going to go D major for bar 1, A major for bar 2, F sharp minor for bar 3, and then G major for bar 4. Now I'm just putting all quarter notes. You could use any rhythm, any tempo, any feel. It's really more about putting our chords together. Okay, now here's my progression for number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now for number 3, I left this all blank, so you go ahead and put some of those chords in any progression you would like. You can start off with the D major chord. You can start off with a chord that's not your root or your D. It's totally open and you could hang out on one chord for 2 bars if you want. You could even get switching your chords every beat if you'd like to. So have some fun with it. Now for number 4, I'd like you to make an 8-bar progression. So you can use any of those chords. They'll all sound good. Have fun with it. Try out some different things. Sometimes it's good to try something, and if you're not digging it, just make some changes and try out some different chords. Now for number 5, we're going to start to mess around a little bit with our diatonic chords and change things from majors to minors and vice versa. Now, as we pointed out, all of the notes of our scale we built our chords off of, and there's that formula where we have our major 1 chord, 2 and 3 chords are minor, 4 and 5 chords are major, and the 6th chord is minor. This is all a major key theory right now. Now, what if we change the 1 chord from a D major into a D minor? Or what if we change our E minor into an E major? So the next progressions are going to be about getting inside of your chords and start to change the tonality from majors to minor. And you could totally take liberties with these, see if you like it. There's some really popular things that you might hear in songs that use some of these concepts, and they're really powerful, they're effective, and I think that's why a lot of people like to use them. Okay, for number 5, let's just play all of our chords, and we're gonna do the switching of making them major and minor this time. Okay, so D major would be our normal 1 chord. Here's a D minor. E minor is the normal 2 chord. Here's your E major. F sharp minor would be your 3 chord. Here's an F sharp major. You got your G major as your 4 chord. Here's a G minor. You have your A major. major is your 5 chord, and an A minor. And then for your 6th chord, B minor is normal, and then B major. Okay, so what I did for number 6 is I made a chord progression, and I had some fun messing around with some switching chords from majors to minors, and vice versa. Now, the strum pattern I'm using for this one is just 2 quarter notes and 2 beats of 8th notes. Again, you could use any rhythms you like. It's more about the chords. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play number 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and... Here's number 6 a little faster. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and... So I hope you could hear some differences in that chord progression. What I did was I kept it pretty straight ahead for the first part. I switched to a G minor chord. That's taking the 4 chord from major to minor. Really powerful tool. You might hear that quite often in songwriting. And then I made my 3 chord into a major for that F sharp major chord, which led us to that B minor chord. So sometimes even switching your chords can be cool just as the chord progression is going and leading into next chords. And then at the very end, I put in D minor. So I took our 1 chord into a minor chord. Okay, have fun with it. For number 7, you can make any progression you'd like, and that would be a 12-bar progression. Okay, for part 2 of the study, now we're going to look at some minor keys and the chords that fall within a minor key. We're going to look at the key of A minor for this. We're going to just call out the chords within our key, and I'm going to be using some terms like a flat 3 and a flat 6 because in our minor scale, those are the notes that we have flatted to make our minor scale. So I'm just going to acknowledge them from like a minor scale perspective. Okay, for number 1, your first chord would be an A minor. That's your 1 chord. I'm going to bypass the 2 chord. That would be a B diminished or B half diminished chord. So let's go right to the 3 chord, flat 3 chord. That would be a C major. Your 4 chord is a D minor. 5 chord is an E minor. Flat 6 chord is an F major. And then your flat 7 chord is G major. Okay, now all these chords are going to sound really good in the key of A. So for number 2, I made a 4-bar progression. I'm going to go D minor for the first bar, A minor for bar 2. On bar 3, going to split it up with a C major for 2 beats, and then an E minor for 2 beats, and then F major for the last bar. And I'm just doing all 8th notes. Here's number 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... And I also want to point out I started on the 4 chord. That's a cool way to get inside of some songwriting too. It's pretty effective. Okay, now for number 3, you make a 4-bar progression in the key of A minor. For number 4, you make an 8-bar progression in the key of A minor. Have fun. Okay, for number 5, we're going to play our normal chords and then switch from majors to minor and vice versa. Okay, here's an A minor, switching to an A major, C major, switching to a C minor, D minor, switch to a D major, E minor, E major, F major, F minor, G major, and G minor. For number 6, I made a 12-bar progression, and I'm going to mess around a little bit with switching some of those tonalities. Let's see what happens. For my rhythm for this one, I'm going to do 2 beats of 8th notes and 2 quarter notes. Here's number 6. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Couple things I did in that chord progression is I incorporated an E major coming from an E minor. I switched my D minor to a D major, and I also switched my F major to an F minor, and then ended with going to A major for the last 2 bars as opposed to our A minor where we started. So definitely doing some big switches with the sounds, trying out some things. Sometimes they work really well. Sometimes you might want to try out some different options too, but the main thing is get inside of it, have some fun with songwriting, and to be creative. So for number 7, you make your own 12-bar progression. Have fun.